The following is a sample from Tax Savage's Basic Tax Preparation course.
So, as our last lesson, we'll discuss due diligence requirements from the IRS, specifically the requirements from Form 8867. If you look here on the form at the top, it says EIC for the Earned Income Credit, then CTC, ACTC, and ODC. That refers to the Child Tax Credit, Additional Child Tax Credit, and credit for other dependents we already talked about. Next is AOTC for American Opportunity Tax Credit and HOH for Head of Household. Why are these four things listed at the top of this form? Well, to be very real with you, these are hot areas for the IRS. They do audits mostly on returns that contain these items because they're all items rife with fraud. So as a paid tax preparer, they want you to be extremely careful in making sure that the information you've collected is valid and correct to the best of your ability. Typically, this form is done for you automatically by the software, and you don't have to worry about submitting it separately. Especially if you have the Tax Savage software in interview mode, it'll walk you through all of this easy peasy. But here's the thing, you have to actually be diligent here, not just check it off on a form. Like I've discussed with you in previous lessons, people will scam you and lie right to your face. You have to be a detective. The IRS doesn't expect perfection, but if something fraudulent happens and they're knocking on your door, you have to have good notes for your clients and be able to look them in the eye and say you did your best. This happened to me once, and it was about a client I'd had. Well, it was about 10 years ago that I got a call from the IRS, but the client's return had been done about 3 years before they talked to me. After they called me, they asked me to come by the office, which was fine by me, and I showed them my notes from the client and told them what little I could remember since I'd only done their taxes once. They were an exchange student from Nigeria, and they didn't have any real tax liabilities, but I did their taxes anyway because they paid me to do it, and I got a tiny return that covered my fees plus a little over. So this guy had stolen a bunch of people's identity documents while he was in country and started filing for all kinds of things when he went home. He filed for unemployment, got loans in their names, you name it. Apparently, that's a big business in Nigeria. I'd never thought anything about it because he seemed like a nice kid, very smart and well-spoken. He dressed nicely with a button-up shirt and khakis. I only remembered because he and the buddy he brought with him were dressed almost like twins. That was really the only thing I could remember about him after 3 years. He just seemed like a good kid, the kind you don't see many of anymore. This good kid went to 3 other tax agencies with his buddy while they were in the States and stole some of their files when the tax agents were distracted by his friend. Not me though. I kept all of that under lock and key, as you should. Thankfully, the IRS got what they needed from me. I got one call later from the FBI to confirm, but that was it. That's my one encounter with the IRS questioning my due diligence. But boy, it was a doozy. And it wasn't even about the normal due diligence things either. Most of it didn't apply to him. So remember that because there's no rule preventing the IRS from asking you about something else on one of your client's returns, you have to keep alert for anything weird. I told you about the scams with the disabled, elderly, and children before. The most common of those you'll see is the less nefarious though. Usually it's one person claiming their nieces and nephews or cousins or neighbors' children. The easiest way to cut through the BS with these things is just go along and then start making small talk. Usually if someone is scamming you, they won't have good answers for you. The one that frequently trips them up is the birthday. A parent, unless they're mentally disabled in some way, will remember their own child's birthday. So if they're claiming a child as their own and can't instantly give you their birthday, they just tripped up. Another one is just small details about the person or child. If in the course of small talk they mention things that contradict each other or don't make sense, put it in your notes. If you have no proof, you can at least let the IRS know that you have suspicions you can't prove and send them your notes after you file. They can review from there, and it's on them. Just keep really good notes. Most of the questions asked in this form are pretty common sense things and easy for you to understand if you read it. I'll advise you, as I've done in the past, to have a really good file system and use it well. If you're not naturally organized, take some courses in being organized, because if you have papers everywhere or files everywhere and you have an audit from the IRS, then you're going to have a hard time with it and you might even get in trouble. The best and easiest way I've found to stay organized is to make a folder for each client using Google Drive, and in that folder, I have another folder for each year. So I'd have Valdez 1, then folders that say 2018, 2019, and 2020, because those are the years he did his taxes with me. Inside each year is a PDF copy of everything I emailed for him, and another folder called Information, where I put all the papers he sent me. In my main folder, I have a master spreadsheet with all my clients, and I think I told you about that before. I've decided to go ahead and make a copy of the spreadsheet I've used for years and the questionnaire I give all my clients before I started working with them. I digitalized the questionnaire and wrote it in such a way that it can be used for every tax year instead of just one. You can send this to all your clients digitally, and there's a place for them to sign the bottom by typing their name to acknowledge what they wrote is true and correct. It's another thing that can help during audits and dealing with the IRS. I make a new version of that spreadsheet each year, but I keep it for contacting my old clients to offer them coupons too. I want to retain them as much as possible and encourage them to bring their friends. Coupons are where it's at for the first one and referral bonuses for the second. For each person they refer to me who also does their taxes with me, I'll pay them $20 at the end of the tax season. It's completely worth it to me. I also send out a newsletter 2 to 3 times per year to remind people the filing deadline is approaching or my office is open, or even let them know that they can just email me all the receipts over the course of the year if they plan to file with me again. I just put the receipts in their file for the next year and we're good to go. Make sure you're keeping your clients' records for a long time. They need to be safe and secure somewhere it's not easy for someone else to get to them. I suggest keeping your files a minimum of 10 years and never count on Google Drive or Box.com or Dropbox to keep your files safe. Their servers are not infallible. I had a friend in California that lost everything, and Google told her, tough luck. One of their servers went down and deleted all her files. I suggest going to Costco or somewhere similar and purchasing 2 hard drive backups. Not 1, I said 2. It's worth it to keep you out of jail when you can't show your records to the IRS when they ask for them. These days, even a fire isn't enough justification because there's usually a digital backup too. So get a good-sized external hard drive backup. I tried the WD brand and both of them went on the fritz and lost my files. I've used Seagate successfully since then and never had a problem. All you do is plug it into your laptop, copy the files over, and unplug it. At the end of each week when I'm done working, I plug them in, one after the other, and copy over the files, save the new versions to update it. Then the hard drives go into a locked file box that also acts as a fire safe under my desk. The keys stay in a safe location known only to me. I suggest that you do this as well, or come up with a similar system to keep your files up to date and safe each year. The last thing I want to mention to you before you run off and take your final quiz is that you might need to send multiple copies of Form 8867 with your client's tax return if you ever need to print and send it. Make sure you send all of those. It's not an error. Some people have thrown away all the extras thinking it was a problem with the software or printer, but just send everything you print. And look over the papers to make sure they not only printed properly, but that everything is accurate. It's your last chance to make sure everything looks as it should.
This was a selected clip from our course on basic tax preparation training. For more clips like this one, subscribe to our channel or go to taxsavage.com, where you can see our professional tax preparation software that includes this entire course, a $396 value for free.